Congratulations on 1st July. Revenue Secretary Tarun Bajaj, CBIC Chairman Vivek Johri, Member Nagendra Kumar, members of the two boards, former chairpersons of the two boards, and former members of the boards, probationers, all officers, invited guests, and the media. I'm extremely happy to be here today to share the mood which is prevailing today in this House. Not even last year, or certainly not 2 years before, about the GST, even on the 1st of July, I would have had this nicely inspiring and motivational aura in the audience if we were to meet. It is purely thanks to the dedicated hard work that each one of you have done today and over a very trying 5 years. So as much as I would love to start by remembering my mentor, predecessor, political leader, Shri Arun Jaitley, for having spent beautiful hours in the GST Council, and before the GST Council in the empowerment group of ministers, for having brought that amicably, a GST which was waiting to be made in this country for more than 13 or 14 years. So I will certainly love to start remembering Shri Arun Jaitley, who is not with us now, to share this very inspiring, positive, energy-filled, nice atmosphere, because he toiled to bring it all together. MOS Pankaj Chaudhary was right in saying that he somehow within 2 years brought all the state ministers together in the, around the table and brought a consensus which stood the test of time, not just ordinary 5 years. What kind of challenges have we not seen during the 5 years? If after the implementation in 17, 18, there was a bit of a slowdown and there were issues of credit availability in the economy, then came the Lok Sabha elections, and was 19 the year through which we saw a lot of difficulties in the technical availability or the facility, the GSTN and its professional services, the technology, its adaptability, were all throwing a lot of challenges. So if 2019 went in that, 18 and 19 went somewhat because of the election, 19 was also because of difficulties, and that is where in 19, and I'm again happy to the officers who were very open-minded. When there were difficulties in the implementation because of certain technology-related glitches, we had to invite the chartered accountants and also the tax-paying community to come and sit together with the GST officials and resolve the problems. After all, we heard a lot of people say this morning that GST, even as it got launched, was a process which was fully automated. And if indeed you were fully automated, and if your automation was not facilitating, but was full of glitches, and the taxpayers who know when they have to say what they want to say. Today you heard them say what they wanted to say. And there was no stopping us clapping for all the comments that they've given us. But in 2019, they were full of woes. They were full of worry. They were full of anxiety. saying you brought in the system, but I'm sorry, the hardware is not matching up to the expectations. So 2019 was a time when the officers had to go through a lot of suffering, ready to hear criticism, be open-minded to accept the criticism, and be ready also to give quick solutions, because every day was a day causing anxiety for the tax assessee. So in 2017, when it was launched with the great hope of one nation, one tax, we heard the Prime Minister in the presence of former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, who had himself had quite a long tenure as Finance Minister, knows the importance of the GST. He launched it along with the Prime Minister. So you were bringing in a one nation, one tax, fully automated. But the first 2 years went, and I distinctly remember, when it was launched, I was not the MOS in finance, which I was in 2014. But even as not being a minister in the finance ministry, not just me, on the directions of Honorable Prime Minister, every minister went to their respective state, and if anything, more states, to go explain what the GST is to everybody. All of us went. And the board and the field formations were all with us, moving from one place to another to say, hey, this actually is going to be a good and simple tax. It looked an insurmountable problem at that stage to convince people that it is going to be a good and simple tax. Because the technology also was something which had to be explained to small and medium. Today you have a lot of small and medium industries coming and speaking about how it has facilitated. But the apprehensions that they had in their mind then had to be removed. And they had to be familiarized with the technology which was before them. So 2019 was a time when the hardware was not catching up with the expectation. And I do remember at that time, the GST Council, after a point, I had to invite Sri Nandan Nilekani to come and explain what's happening. Why wouldn't the expectations of the taxpayer be met? Because we did claim that the simplification is going to be technology-driven. And he did come. And when he did come, it was 2020. And you know, 2020, we entered in with the pandemic. And even as that session of the GST Council, again, it happened in Vigyan Bhavan, if I remember correct. That session of the GST Council, there were worries if we'll be able to get the hardware equipments coming from the components coming from different parts of the world, because global trade had already started getting affected. I'm elaborating on these problems only because I was a bit worried when I heard Vivek Johri talk about, at the time of launch of the GST, the CBIC had an existential crisis. You had so much to do. You had so much to steer like a good captain of a big ship. You had to do so much to explain and also bring in that readiness among officers. Today, I was glad to hear, by the same tone, from the chairman CBIC, that you're now thought leaders. You're able to give solutions. You're able to improve the collection. So the contrast in the 5 years, the year of introduction, and today just 5 years, imagine, just 5 years. And that is why I say you didn't undergo teething problems. You've faced even a pandemic. You've even seen the challenges of technology. You've told even A country like India, which has different states with different levels of developments and big and small businesses, all of whom came to talk today, you could tell them that here you are to support them, improve the systems, real time be with them, and also equally prove by showing the collection. Today, I'm standing before you. In fact, let me start by saying something else first. I'm standing before you to feel so happy that today we have a set of people from the board who can come and give us a good beginning. What a beautiful rendition of Ganesh Vandana was it. You know, the impression about tax authorities in this country, oh my God, tax official, oh my God, are they coming to my house? Are they coming to do a survey? Are they going to do a search? Are they sending me a notice? They are sending you beautiful Ganesh Vandana. What a beautiful beginning was it. You know, actually so talented set of good, beautiful, very skilled people. And the skills range from singing to the award recipient who made an app for you all. I mean, look at the varied talents you have. It's just a beautiful day, I'm telling you today. It's just a beautiful day where each one of your talents directly and not so directly helping the mood of the country. And that's what kept you all going in the 5 years. And as much as I say this, I do remember the days during the lockdown, during the pandemic, when tax collections had to still keep going. We needed the resources to trickle in, and it was only trickles. But even at that time, the way in which the field formations worked, and I actually have a very honest, profound thought for all those who lost their lives during that time. Their families. They may have been just that one breadwinning member of the house. So I do remember them, even as we are talking about what in 5 years we've achieved. I also bow my head in respect for every one of you all who served during the pandemic. Those were very difficult days. Whilst we were worried about the completely dropping collections, today we remember what we can show within a matter of 5 years. And they were not ordinary years. Of the 5 years, 2 years went with the pandemic, lockdown, national level lockdown, and then state level, and then some containment zones. So it was never the same. But you still managed to get the highest collection in not so high earning month. April, May, June are not brilliant months, maybe April, but May and June are not great months for collection. But you still managed to get great collections. Within the 5 years, the GST is showing what it is. And the first thing I spoke about the Ganesh Vandana and the talent that you have. And let me announce, today is the first, right? Let me announce what the collection was. This for the month which went by, June. The gross GST revenue collection for the month of June 2022 is 1,44,616 crores. (56% rise of the GST revenues in the same month last year. 56%. So the trend that was being talked about, we are now reversing that and showing that the GST revenues remain above 1.40 lakh crores. So 1.40 seems to be the rough bottom line. We are not going below that. We are only collecting more than that. So the existential crisis that Vivek Johri spoke about, you are playing a very critical role in this country's taxation system. Don't you doubt yourselves. I was also happy to hear one thing. There was a little comparison between, systems being provided by the CBDT, which are very good, Saral, CBIC saying that to CBDT, and I could see the front row of CBDT members feeling, look. That's the kind of competition between the two boards that we love to watch and encourage. There's so much to benefit. There's so much to benefit from one another's experiences. There's no competition otherwise. And that is the kind of feeling which I also saw during the week-long Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations that Finance Ministry held. And in that, I could see each day, each department of the Finance Ministry trying to list out the wonderful work that they've done in the last few years, and of course, trace the history in the last 75 years. And that's the kind of, feeling, the sense of belonging, the sense of respecting seniors, the sense of having seniors amidst one's gathering when you're remarkably recalling great strides that you've made during the 75 years, that brings in a sense of camaraderie, learning from one another, and above all then, benefit of collective energy. So today I could see that also. I was happy also for Vivek to respond to some of the suggestions which came from the tax assessees themselves who came here to present. Many of the suggestions are being responded to, and that's how nimble CBIC should be, CBDT should be, so the taxpayer gets the confidence that our inputs are being valued, thought through, and responded to. Not very many times will you do it in their favor, but at least if you're able to do it when you can do it, it gives them the confidence, all right, from among the 10 suggestions I gave, at least 4 or 5 being responded to positively, and maybe that number will increase in the future as well. So that was very good, and that is the way it should go forward, I would think. Today is also the day when the Chartered Accountants Day is celebrated. They also have a big role to play with the two boards. In fact, I remember in 2019, they worked very much in synchrony with the two boards, took a lot of suggestions. Also, he gave inputs to Infosys for improving the platform, and I wish them well as well in this context. So if you just look at the critical benefits that have arisen because of the GST, as was said by one of the 5 participants in doing a presentation, the tax arbitrage which existed pre-GST days between one state and another because of the varied rates which prevailed, legacy taxation schemes which were there in place, have been completely removed, which means citizens of India pay the same tax for the same service or same commodity. It is so much right in terms of equity for taxation principles. And therefore, no citizen should be paying more for anything which his brother or sister living in a different state is paying for in a different rate. So that equity principle of taxation has now well been established, and people see the difference in it. Also, compliance reduction. If because of the technology-driven system, we have brought in a taxation system, particularly an indirect one at that, if there is ease of compliance, it makes the life of everybody easy. And that's what we heard from the 5 presentations. no cascading effect of taxation, no double taxation, no overlaps in taxation, leading to confusion. And that's why when you talk about greater credibility and taxation and transparency in taxation, GST has actually brought it in. We should remember that those are principles which are very necessary for a humane taxation scheme of things in any one country. I'm saying this, although I still receive a little bit of voices here to the converse. I'm saying this, what I'm going to say now, although I occasionally do hear, no, it's not as you think, there are still some discretion, but GST has removed discretion to a large extent. There is no, therefore, rent seeking. But even with the boards being in front of me, I'm aware the media is before me, but I would still say we should even better perform in terms of removing even one little iota of discretion if it prevails anywhere. We should just make sure the system is so transparent that whisper of allegation about discretion somewhere in the ground should be completely removed. So it's time for me actually to say to each one of you all, not just those 35 certification receiving tax officials, each one member of the board, each one in the field formation, each one belonging to Department of Revenue deserves a very big applause. You have actually lived through a difficult pandemic period, also lived simultaneously at the same time through a period where a big reform in the Indian economy was happening. You were actually leading it as though you were the engine of this reform. And you have today successfully moved from the pandemic period, and you're now showing recovery. That is why, because of the buoyancy in tax collection. I was somewhere reading Tarun Bajaj's interview this morning where he said, my tax collection has grown up 30%, whereas the GDP has only grown, nominal terms, has only grown 19.5%. A buoyancy of 1.5, he said. Am I right, Tarun? Not possible unless you people in the ground are working. So on this day, I'm extremely happy that the CBIC thought it fit to get the tax assessees themselves to come and speak here. So I take them by their names. I'm not taking the rest of the team's names because that will be too many. So Ms. Mutwani from Mumbai, Shri Garimalla Srinivas on MSME, Ms. Sonam Kasera on exports, Shri D.D. Goel on procedures, Shri Pramod Jain on taxation. For you and for all members of your team, thank you very much for coming here. And sharing your experience here actually, and through here actually, builds credibility into the system that we want to bring in. There can be naysayers even today. I'm astonished when I see naysayers who on the one hand have their party representatives as finance ministers sitting in the GST Council, happily saying, yes, it's removing a lot of anomalies, making it simple, good generation of revenue in the GST Council. Whereas the naysayers outside call it all kinds of names. It is actually striving to be, and all of you all are striving to make it good and simple tax. But it's a shame when people outside would talk about it as something else. I don't even want to repeat it. They are all party in the GST Council. They actively participate in the GST Council. Decisions are taken together. Discussions are part of any good decision-making process. But that doesn't deny the fact that this tax has lived to meet the expectation of the people of India, and which is what you heard today through the 5 teams presenting. And they come from all over the country. They come from all over the country. They represent various segments, MSMEs, exporters, taxation specialists, somebody who does business in logistics and also has interstate movement of goods. If they are not judges of the scheme, who else can be? And you heard what they judged the scheme for what it is. So I think each one of you here should go back greatly motivated by today's meeting, draw inspiration from those very taxpayers who are telling you that you've given us a very good taxation system, but don't get complacent, improve your technology, keep it nimble, keep changing it as per the requirement of time, and we shall make it far more efficient to serve the people of India. So thank you for being here. Jai Hind.